Hello everyone, we are back today with our monthly frequently asked questions. So we got a bunch of questions that came in through our Instagram stories, some really interesting, some concerning a lot of stock inquiries. So I just want to remind everyone that for stock inquiries, it's best that you contact the sales hotline at 016-311-1286 in order to get more info on those. And we're going to begin with the first question. Are you guys going to bring in the new Orange Super Crush 100? Yes, we are. We have made an order earlier in the year and we should be receiving them by December this year. So we have the head and the combo version. So stay tuned for that. Next question, how to make a Neo Soul effect. And number one is, I guess it's the style of play. Get your playing chops right. Number two, get a good compressor, something like the SP Comp or the Wampler Ego compressor, and probably get a nice reverb pedal that you love according to your budget. Next question. For a beginner, go big on the amp or the guitar. If you asked me this question about 10 years ago, I would probably say go big on the amp because that was the main thing that generates your tone and the speakers from it, stuff like that. And you could always kind of compromise on the guitar and upgrade it later on. But if you ask me today, you could probably escape by going big on the guitar because there are so many different solutions for producing sound. So you can get a traditional amp. There are good sounding practice amps which sound great at an affordable price. There are plugins that you can use on your laptop and get great tones. So probably in today's age you could just go big with the guitar, so you will feel inspired to actually hold it and the craftsmanship will be better, fret jobs will be better, things like that. So you're more inspired to always pick it up and practice with it, not battle with it too much as a beginner. So yeah, go big on the guitar. Next question, Boss GT1000 versus the Helix LT. So if you're going against the LT, I think I would rather pick the GT1000. I find that the routing of the foot switches and the possibilities of assigning different things to each foot switch is much more flexible on the Boss, and the LT had a history where the expression pedal always broke. So that is something I do not want in the back of my head where it can break while playing live. So I would pick the GT1000. But the full-blown Helix does not have that expression pedal problem. So yeah, GT1000 it is. Next question, best affordable audio interface. Now if you're really strapped on a budget, you can consider the Behringer UM2. It's only like 170 ringgit. You're asking why is it that cheap? Well, because you're not paying for any additional softwares that come with it. It comes with nothing. It's just the bare unit by itself. So you don't have any DAW softwares, you don't have any plugins, VSTs, things like that. You're not paying for any of the licensing of that. But if I were to give you another tip is, I think for a beginner interface, spending about 600 plus ringgit and below, you can't really go wrong with much of it. You could go with like the Audio Box 96, PreSonus Studio 24C. You got the Scarlett 2i2, you got the Complete Audio 2, so you can go with those options. And another way to kind of decide which one you like is to check the ins and outs, what kind of inputs, how many types of inputs, and the kind of outputs it has, quarter inch, RCA, depends what you want, and you can just decide from there. Or if you want to go with a particular software, for example, PreSonus comes with Studio One, and if you prefer something like that to learn production, you can go for that. Next question, best distortion pedal at the moment. I think I've said the same pedal a million times. The Friedman Dirty Shirley is the best distortion pedal of all time. Or if we haven't uploaded our blind, so I would say the Dirty Shirley, but based on the last video where I did the blindfold challenge, apparently I picked the Joyo Uzi. So that's probably the best distortion pedal at the moment. Next question, thoughts on the locally produced SHUE guitars. I think I'm pronouncing that SHUE. Made by Ray over at Guitar Hospital. I think they're really beautiful guitars. He has definitely come a long way in terms of finishing and craftsmanship, and the new Sham Kamikaze model looks really good. So I think it's really great. I just find that some of his pickup names are a bit weird. Some of his pickups are called like Maggie Goreng Bridge pickup or something like that. Yeah, so weird names on the pickups, but overall really great looking. I've yet to play one, so if Ray, if you want to send a guitar over, please do. Next question, Mooer or Nux for multi-effects. So I spent a lot of time with Mooer multi-effects and I know they're great, but I've spent not as much time on the Nux multi-effects. So you have just given me inspiration to do a comparison, so I'll probably shoot a comparison in the next month or two comparing the MG30 against the GE250. Next question, do I need power amps for my preamp pedals during live/jamming? What are the options? So if your preamp pedal already has a cab simulator, you can just hook it up to the mixer or into a monitor speaker. And if it doesn't have that, and you need to put it through a cabinet, then yes, you will need a power amp. And one of the good options that I find is the orange pedal baby, so you can consider that. So it depends what you want to do. Do you want to power a cabinet, or do you want to go direct? So if your preamp pedal does not have a cab simulator, then you have no choice but to go into a cabinet first. So therefore you need a power amp, and you can consider the orange pedal baby. Next question, great solid state amp recommendations for small gigs. So I would recommend probably the Orange Crush 60, the 60 watt. However, if the weight is a factor for you, because the 60 watt is a little heavy and to carry it to some gigs it can be a little back breaking, you can consider just the 35 watt version. Next question, what is the best Ibanez electric under 2K? Love me in the content, guys. Thank you very much. I personally feel that the RG421 is the most versatile bang for buck Ibanez under 2000. Pickups are great, craftsmanship is great, wiring is neat inside, and the way that they wire the 5-way pickup selector, you can get a lot of tones from that. It cleans up with gain, tone knob is responsive. Yeah, so the RG421, and I have a demo on that on this channel. Next question, it's a reverb question. TC Hall of Fame 2 versus EHX Ocean 11 versus Boss RV6. Now they are all great reverbs. I own a RV6, so I love that pedal very much. The Oceans 11 is another very beautiful sounding pedal. There's a lot of great features in such a small format. This is very difficult to answer. So I like the Hall of Fame purely for the tone print. So I probably wouldn't go for the full-blown Hall of Fame. I would just get the Hall of Fame Mini, because that's the only thing I use the TC pedals for, mainly for all the tone prints, because that's the interesting stuff. So I'll just settle for the Mini. So that would negate that from this versus right here. So to pick between the Oceans or the RV6, I am a more old school player, so I don't need any fancy sounding reverbs or anything out of the ordinary. So I'll probably go with the RV6, which is the reason I own the RV6. So the Oceans 11, if you're looking for something with more interesting tones, then the Oceans 11. But for me, I kind of prefer the RV6. Next question. Music Bliss tak cuba bawa masuk brand Morley? Tak ada bang, tak banyak demand. Jarang orang tanya untuk pedal Morley. Also many years ago, I used the Morley volume pedal, like this was like 2013 or 14, and the pedal had tone suck. I lost all my treble because of that pedal, so I stopped using it, sold it immediately. Next question, best ever fuzz pedal in the world? Earthquaker Devices Eruptor. I bought one. It's just one knob. There is no volume control. The one knob is to control the amount of fuzz, and it sounds like a monstrous wall of gain. It's such a badass sounding fuzz. That's the one I'll recommend for you. You won't regret. Just buy it. Buy it! Next question. Favorite guitar model of all time? This is difficult. I like all my guitars. I like my Les Pauls. I like my Music Man. I like my Headless. I like my AZ. I like my Tele. Probably, if I had to live with one guitar, oh god, this is difficult. Well, probably my Kiesel, because that's the most recent acquisition and it's really well built. Second would be a single cut style guitar, because I look good when I hold it while playing live. Forget about looks. So yeah, Gibson Les Pauls. Other options would be like the Schecter Solo 2 Custom, the one with the satin finish, the black one, and gold hardware. I thought that guitar it sounded great. And if you want a 24 fret option, the LTD EC256 or EC1000. And I felt that the 256 for the price is insanely well built, feels good, reacts well, string bounces quickly, stuff like that. So yeah, I hope that kind of answers the question. Next question. Can I use an effects pedal without an effects loop? Yes, you still can do that, unless you're using gain from your amp and you want to put a delay pedal. So if you don't have an effects loop, and if you were to put a delay or reverb in front of gain, it's going to sound really out of control, because it's going to amplify the repeats of the delay, the echo of the reverb. So it's going to be difficult if you're using the amp for high gain, it doesn't have an effects loop, and you want to use delay and reverb with that particular amp. So your solution would be to just run it into a clean amp, use an entire board of effects including drive, distortion and all that. Next question, can you recommend electric and acoustic guitars under 1000? So if it's under 1000, you can consider one is the Stagg SET Plus. It's a Telecaster style guitar. Very affordable, decently built for the price. There's a push-pull and all that at that price. So if you're into the tele look and the typical, like, butterscotch, black pickguard kind of thing, you can consider that. Another option, a more kind of like a versatile option, you can check out the Yamaha Pacifica series, like the PAC 112. And another option, if you want dual humbuckers, you can check out Schecter SGR series, so like the C1 or even the C7. There's a 7-string version of that. So those are all under 1K currently. You can check those out. For acoustic, I would recommend Tanglewood, any model over there under 1K. Tanglewood is excellent ratio of price to value to quality. I find their builds are very consistent from guitar to guitar compared to other brands that are out there. I find that other brands, one model can be extremely great, and then you pick up another one, it's absolute dog shit. But the Tanglewoods are pretty consistent, they look great, sound great, feel great. So I would recommend any model from Tanglewood. You can check our website, there's different colors, different shapes, pickup, no pickup. So take a look at that. Thoughts on wireless guitar systems? I used to think that, the tones suck, and all that kind of thing. I was purely a cable guy. I would use like a 30 feet cable on the stage and move around. But eventually I got tired of being on a leash like a dog. So I hopped on the wireless thing. I still use a Line 6 G10. Works great. Tone wise is much better. And what I find with wireless, especially like the G10, I don't get any when you plug in a cable and your output jack makes noise, things like that. With the wireless, I don't get any of that. None of that. Silent. And I can move around freely. I used it on stage in BUKIT JALIL, and it was fine. So yeah, happy days. Wireless are great. Next question. Thoughts on guitar plugins for live shows? What's needed aside from laptop and AI? So there are some great plugins nowadays sounding really good. And if you wanted to use them live, I guess you'd have to consider whether you want to power up a cabinet, in which you'll need power amps. You got to route your output from the interface into a power amp. Also, you need to consider a sort of MIDI controller in case you want to do patch or tone changes on stage. So these are the couple of things you need to figure out: how to route a power amp into a cabinet, and also how to control your tones live. Next question. GE300 versus Pod Go. Both great sounding units. When I tested the Pod Go, I was actually very impressed with all the tones. The presets, a lot of presets sounded great, but I felt that the GE300 is a bit more natural feeling, because the Pod Go, I find the compression level is higher, because I noticed that everything I was playing just made my playing much easier. So that tells me that the level of compression and all their patches or whatever is pretty high. To me, that's not a natural feeling thing. If I wanted high compression, I would add a compressor, but I wouldn't want all my tones to sound compressed like that. So if you wanted something a bit more natural, I feel that the GE300 is a better option. Next question. Is an aux box worth it in your opinion? Now, the aux box is an excellent unit. I've seen a lot of people use it and it sounds great, but my only issue is with the price point. It's not cheap. It's like $1,003 US. I find that a better value would be the 2-note Torpedo Captor X. Now that is about $2,499 and it's much more smaller, portable. It has everything. It is a reactive load box, attenuator. You can upload IRs, presets. So, and then there's like USB to upload your own IRs, there's stereo, XLR outs, there's MIDI compatibility. So I find that is a much more better value, and you can easily carry that around compared to the aux box. So it's just that the price is a complete turn off. So I definitely would prefer the Torpedo Captor X over the aux box. Next question. Will Music Bliss bring in the Ibanez AZ series? Yeah, we do bring it in from time to time. If you really want to secure one, you can contact our sales hotline and do that. Next question. Bro, you bring in Old Blood Noise Endeavors, Greer amps, Fairfield circuitry, and oh, this is very niche lah, bro. I did own an OBNE Black Fountain. Yeah, I had a Black Fountain before. It was a great sounding delay, oil can delay, but it's a very niche request over here. So I don't think we'll be bringing them in anytime soon. Next question. I use multiple pedals, overdrive, distortion, chorus, delay. Should I connect through effects loop by just in front, or separate them? So number one, are you going to be using your own amp at every show? So if you're going to be using your own amp at every show and you're going to be using both the channels of the amp, then separate them. You got to separate what pedals you want to go in front, what pedals you want to go in the loop. Number two, if you're not going to do that, then I would suggest just building your pedal board with one pathway and just go in front of an amp. Number three, are there preamp pedals on your board? If there are preamp pedals, then you might want to go into the effects loop of the amp. But what happens when you don't have an effects loop at the amp at the venue? You'll have a problem there. So you still got to run it through the front. So to make life easy, I just run everything through the front. That's it. Next question. Hello Kenneth, what's your recommendation for starter on STOMPBOXES under 2000? So this is going to depend on what you need. When I first ventured into STOMPBOXES, I sold my multi-effects and I got an overdrive pedal and a delay pedal. So depending on how much gain you want, you got to pick whether you want an overdrive or distortion. Picking a distortion, you can always clean up the tones with your guitar volume knob, and probably I'll pick some sort of a versatile delay with a lot of tonal options like the DD8 or the Canyon from Electro Harmonics or the Flashback 2. Something with tap tempo could be your taste, and I would add on from there. So for overdrives, you can consider like the Earthquaker Devices Plumes, or anything from MXR, EHX. There's a lot of overdrive pedals, so you got to see what is up your alley and what do you like. Distortion pedals, you have Friedman, you have MXR. Again, too many. So I would recommend to pick a drive that is to your taste, and a delay pedal, whether you want it with tap tempo or no tap tempo, and from there you can keep adding on based on what you like, the kind of music you're going to be playing, whether you want a reverb, whether you need any more modulation, whether you need a compressor, so on and so forth. But I would start with the basic, just a drive or distortion with a delay. Next question, what should I get for my first modulation, either single or multi-mod pedal? So if you're still unclear about the type of modulation you want in your tones, you can get a multi-mod pedal. One option is the Wampler Terraform, a lot of options there. And if the price point is not up your alley, you can consider the Electro Harmonics Mod 11, or you can even consider like the Boss BF3. Now I know that's a flanger pedal, but you can still get tremolo, vibe and chorus type tones on that one pedal, and I do have a demo of that on that channel. In fact, I have a demo for all those pedals that I mentioned, so you can check out the BF3 demo on our channel, the Mod 11 as well as the Terraform. Best pedal board for 5 to 7 pedal user. Depends if you want to route your power supply on top or below. I'm personally more of a put my power supply on top of the board kind of guy, so I like a flat board. But if you're going to route it below the board, you can consider the Mooer TF20 or 16. Now for pedal train, the best way to do it is I would just lay out the pedals on the floor, put a tape around it, measure the dimension of the tape there, and then you can go to the pedal train website and check out their dimension chart and kind of pick a board from there, and then you can check our website for the availability of the current model. So you can consider the Mooer TF16 or 20, and if you want a pedal train, you can consider doing that, measuring and checking the dimension. Next question, best wah for metalhead, not a signature model. Oh my god, not a signature model. I only own signature models. I'm just going to recommend signature models first because I know from the top of my head what works. JP95, the Petrucci, Jerry Cantrell, JC95, even the Joe Bonamessa JB95, which I use, all works well for metal. If you're looking something for non-metal, definitely would not go with the Vox 847, 845. That's more for clean stuff, I feel. The regular Crybaby, the GCB95, is alright, but I find it's not refined enough. You can try the MC404 from Custom Audio Electronics. I think that is an excellent sounding wah pedal. It gives you a bit more options with the boost and the different, there's 2 different inductors that you can choose to kind of fit the kind of gain that you're going to be using it for. So I probably, on the top of my list is the MC404. If I had to pick a second option, I would probably pick the junior version of the GCB95. I believe it's called the CBJ95 because there's a voicing switch inside of that, so it gives you a few options which might work with high gain. But I guess if you're asking non-signature, my top pick is the MC404. Next question, what's the difference between multi-effects and Stompbox? Isn't it just the same effect? Yep, it is the same effect, but a jack of all trades is a master of none. So usually most multi-effects pedals will do some modulations excellently, while they'll do some not so excellent, especially with overdrives. You can't really beat the sound of an analog sounding overdrive. I've compared a lot of, you can kind of escape with high gain, you can escape with choruses, you can escape with delay, but especially when it comes to wah and overdrive, like nothing really beats a pure analog wired overdrive or wah. And of course, if you buy an individual Stompbox, it is designed specifically to do the one thing and one thing only, so it's definitely going to sound better, than something with an all-in-one feature. So yeah, it's the same effect, but they do sound different. Now for you, probably the multi-effect sounds good enough, so just roll with it, whatever works for you. Please bring in more Stagg Sensa series. Alright boss, please message 0163111286 and demand more Sensa series so I can order them. Next question, what gear do you put the car in at 6 PM every day? I put it in drive and sports mode because I want to drive the f*** home from the office. I want to leave really fast. Kindly share your effect signal change for solo and riff. So usually it's very simple. Guitar into an overdrive pedal perhaps into an amp, and a delay if I want to solo. If I'm doing it live, probably a guitar. If I'm going into a Pedalboards guitar, into a mild overdrive, into my high gain pedal, and that would be just for riffing. And if I'm soloing, that will go into an EQ pedal to boost the volume or change the EQ curve so I cut through the mix, and then followed by a delay pedal. So it's like really simple for solo and riff. When I'm at home, I just use plugins and I use the same concept. So guitar into a sort of pedal in the plugin into the amp, and yeah, I keep it very simple. I never complicate the signals and I don't put too many things. Next question: how do I stop buzzing from my amps? Really is a pain in the butt when recording. So you gotta determine whether the buzzing is coming from, like, is it the 60 cycle hum of your pickup, or is it, some electrical grounding issue in your house. If it's, your regular 60 cycle hum or whatever, you can get a simple noise suppressor. You can get the Boss NS2 or like the electro harmonic silencer and just cut that noise while recording. Now, another thing I would say is, like, you shouldn't worry too much about the level of noise that you're having, because if you try to find old guitar stems from the past, like example, if you took like I've heard guitar stems from Alice in Chains, Them Bones, in a mix, you never hear the noise, but when you hear the guitar isolated, you can hear the pops and crackles, you can hear the you can hear all of that. It's right there with all the guitars, but the moment you throw it in the mix, you don't hear that. So I would say don't worry as much when you are putting it in a full mix. It's probably only going to be very obvious if the instrument is soloed out and is playing by itself. So if in that case, you can just get a simple noise suppressor. Thoughts on IR versus cab sim. So now, if I want to put it in a basic explanation for those that are unclear, a cab simulator allows you to actually move the mic around in the cab simulator to change the tones on the fly. Now an IR is more of a capture of an environment. It's probably a particular power amp going into a particular cabinet being mic'd up by a particular mic in one specific position in one particular room. So it's capturing that environment, and that is the tone you're getting. Finding the perfect IR takes time, because when you are dialing in a multi-effects, things like that, let us just say you picked whatever amp, a Friedman amp or something, and you start playing around with IRs. Now many people make their IRs out there, but how do they match their particular cabinet and stuff with whatever they're doing? It might not work for you. That particular combo of your head and that IR might not work as well. So you kind of like spend a lot of time flipping IRs, changing IRs, just finding the perfect one. But once you're set on one, you're good to go. But I kind of hate that process of choosing the IR, because it takes time and you gotta like test it live and see if it works in a mix and stuff like that, and you go back, change the IR. So I kind of appreciate cab simulators. For example, on plugins nowadays like Neural DSP, if you go to the cabinet section, you can see the mics are just there. So when I'm dialing in the tone and I find that I can't really fine-tune something with the amp's EQ or an EQ pedal there, I can just go to the cab simulator and just move the mics around. So I can move the position, I can move the distance, and I can flip the polarity of one to get different tones. So I think if it's something quicker for me, cab simulators is just tweak things straight away. But with IRs, it just takes time to find the perfect IR. So that's something I'm not patient enough with. I would rather just, because I used to mic up cabinets myself, so I'd rather just go there, just click a mic, move it around, and I get my tone. So that's that. All the questions for this month. Hopefully I managed to answer them clearly. If you want more clarification, you can leave a comment down below and we'll answer them. Follow us on Instagram if you haven't already, because we will post a story every month asking you guys to ask us questions. So till then, take care.